Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack something absolutely massive. We're looking at how a nation of over 1 billion people tackles the incredibly complex challenge of malnutrition. It is a fascinating journey, and it's going to take us from the basic, fundamental biology of the human body all the way up to these massive, nationwide administrative ecosystems. So let's get right into it.
Let's kick things off by challenging a really common assumption. Is malnutrition just a lack of food? I really want you to rethink what you might know about this topic because, as we'll see, an empty stomach, well, that's only a tiny, tiny fraction of the overarching crisis we're dealing with here. You see, we often picture malnutrition purely as undernutrition, right? Things like stunting or wasting. But India actually faces what is known as the double burden of malnutrition. This literally means undernutrition exists right alongside overnutrition. We're talking rising rates of overweight, obesity, and diet-related diseases all within the exact same population. It's this wild dual crisis, and it requires a highly nuanced response.
To understand how a country manages a crisis of this scale, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the ecology of malnutrition. Second, India's national nutrition policy. Third, the healthcare delivery flow. Fourth, global and national agencies. And finally, action on the ground.
Okay, Section 1, the ecology of malnutrition. Let's look at the actual human and biological stakes before we get into all the bureaucracy.
To ground our narrative in a pretty sobering reality, let's take a look at recent data from the National Family Health Survey 5. For children under 5 in India, over a third, 35.5% to be exact, are stunted. That means their chronic growth has been restricted. Another 32.1% are underweight, and 19.3% are wasted, which reflects acute, recent undernutrition. Now, while this actually is a measurable improvement from the past, it highlights a massive, ongoing public health challenge.
So why do these numbers persist? Well, malnutrition doesn't happen for just one single reason. It's like a giant, incredibly complex puzzle driven by compounding factors. Even when food is widely available, things like recurrent infections, poor sanitation, poverty, low education, and gender inequality, they act as severe underlying basic causes. For example, a child might have enough food right in front of them, but if they repeatedly suffer from waterborne infections because of poor sanitation, their body simply cannot absorb the nutrients. The food is there, but the body can't use it.
And these underlying factors, they compound over time into a really tragic intergenerational cycle. Just think about it for a second. An undernourished adolescent girl becomes an undernourished pregnant woman. This directly increases the risk of giving birth to a low birth weight infant. That baby subsequently suffers from childhood undernutrition, grows into an undernourished adolescent, and bam, the loop starts all over again. Breaking this cycle means we have to intervene at multiple specific life stages.
That brings us to Section 2, India's National Nutrition Policy. Now that we understand the deep roots of the problem, let's zoom out to the actual blueprint designed to fix it, which was adopted back in 1993.
This 1993 policy was a real game changer, a total paradigm shift. It officially recognized that malnutrition is a multi-sectoral issue. Basically, the government admitted that just growing more food, increasing agricultural production, doesn't automatically guarantee that vulnerable households will get adequate nutrition. It actually requires intense coordination across agriculture, health, education, women and child development, and rural development. It's the whole shebang working together.
To pull this off, the policy attacks the problem using two main buckets. First up, we have direct interventions. These are short-term actions, things like food fortification, growth monitoring, and vitamin supplementation. This provides immediate relief to vulnerable groups. Second, we have indirect interventions. These are the long-term strategies designed to modify the broader socioeconomic environment. We're talking about improving food security, boosting household purchasing power, and improving sanitation. You basically have to protect the individual today while fixing the whole system for tomorrow.
Section 3, the healthcare delivery flow. The crucial question here is, how does this incredibly ambitious policy actually make its way down to a vulnerable household? Well, this delivery flow essentially acts as a massive chain of command. It starts all the way at the top with the central government, which provides the overarching framework, the technical guidance, and of course the funds. This flows down to the State Health Administration. They take the major responsibility for actual on-the-ground implementation. From there, it moves through district administrations and hospitals down to the primary health center before finally reaching the community and the household level.
Now, right at the heart of this entire flow is the Primary Health Center, or PHC. The PHC is absolutely the critical linchpin in this whole system. It acts as the direct point of contact between the community and higher-level healthcare. This is exactly where medical care directly intersects with community nutritional surveillance. The PHC staff identify malnutrition, they monitor growth, support maternal nutrition, promote breastfeeding, and act as a vital referral point to send severe cases up to higher facilities. They are doing the heavy lifting.
All right, moving into Section 4, Global and National Agencies. Let's meet the vast network of organizations that provide the knowledge, funding, and research to power this complex administrative machinery.
We are dealing with what honestly looks like an alphabet soup of organizations here. On the international side, you've got agencies like UNICEF focusing on maternal and child rights, the FAO working on food systems, and the WHO guiding public health. But then, on the national side, India relies on domestic powerhouses like NIN for human nutrition research, the ICMR for biomedical research, and CFTRI for food processing technologies. So global technical guidance pairs directly with Indian scientific research to form a completely unified front.
But, government bodies simply can't do it all alone. This entire ecosystem relies heavily on non-governmental organizations and financial institutions. Entities like USAID, CARE, the World Bank, alongside countless local NGOs, they provide critical community mobilization, financing, and humanitarian support. They are absolutely essential for reaching marginalized communities or displaced persons that traditional, rigid government programs might really struggle to access.
Finally, Section 5, Action on the Ground. We've seen the intergenerational cycle, the policy, the massive network of agencies. Now let's see how this all brilliantly comes together out in the real world. Let's quickly run through some of these massive ground-level schemes. We have ICDS and Anganwadi services, which provide early childhood care and supplementary nutrition. Then there's PM Poshan, delivering midday meals to keep kids in school while directly fighting classroom hunger. We've got the NIDCP ensuring universal salt iodization for brain development, and the public distribution system acting as a massive baseline for food security. Think about a single Anganwadi worker out there in the community right now. They are actively implementing multiple facets of this giant national policy every single day. It's pretty incredible.
A really vital part of this ground action is the evolution of food security itself. Historically, India used the targeted public distribution system, which classified households simply into above or below poverty line. But today, under the modern National Food Security Act of 2013, that framework has totally evolved. The focus has administratively shifted to identifying priority households and Antidaya Anna Yojana beneficiaries. This ensures that highly subsidized food grains actually reach the absolute poorest of the poor in a much more targeted, efficient manner.
8.93 crore. I just want to pause for a second and let that massive number sink in. That is the number of registered beneficiaries actively tracked on the Poshan Tracker as of our latest data.
So what exactly is the Poshan Tracker? Well, it's an ICT-based governance tool under Mission Saksham, Anganwadi, and Poshan 2.0. You can really frame this technology as the modern climax to a decades-old fight. It upgrades historical, slow-moving paper surveys into near real-time digital surveillance of growth monitoring, hot-cooked meals, and stunting. Operating across all 28 states and 8 union territories, data can now be collected and reviewed incredibly fast. This allows program managers to pinpoint areas requiring immediate attention, literally in real time.
Which brings us to a final, thought-provoking question for you. With real-time data tracking millions of vulnerable children every single day, how close are we to breaking the intergenerational cycle of malnutrition for good? Can modern digital surveillance, combined with this vast, multi-sectoral administrative ecosystem, finally conquer the deep-rooted ecology of malnutrition? It is an incredible challenge, no doubt, but understanding the system is absolutely the first step to seeing the solution. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the systems around you.